This is for Biology 101, Lab 37, the oil disbursement and water lab. First, what you're going to need is you're going to need a measuring cup that has Dawn dish liquid in it. You're going to need room temperature tap water. You will need to take a permanent marker and label our measuring cups, cup 1, cup 2, cup 3, and cup 4. We have also marked the 2 tablespoon line on the cup so we know where to fill it up with tap water. We will then take the tap water and we will fill each cup up to the 2 tablespoon line. And then you will take your Dawn dish liquid in your measuring cup. Your first cup will be your control, so you don't need to add any dish liquid to that one. You then to cup 2 add 1 drop. To cup 3 you add 2 drops. And to cup 4 you add 3 drops. You will take toothpicks to try to stir this in, and you're going to want to use a different toothpick for each one. So you would stir it in, and stir it in. This is the first part of the lab, and we'll save this to a little bit later so we can add it to our cylinders. For this part of the experiment, you want to have 4 cylinders. Cylinder 1, cylinder 2, cylinder 3, and cylinder 4. To write this, you'll want to use a permanent marker, taking care not to write over the white writing on the cylinder itself, but you may write to the side. You're going to want to use a dry funnel, which has a larger mouth so it slips through a little bit easier for you, to add your different kinds of soils. The first soil that you want to add is you're going to want to add your sand. You want to take an unmarked measuring cup, get your sand, take what we're using is a wooden stir stick, and you're going to want to level that off. Try to do it over the container that it came in or over your tray, preferably the container that it came in so you're not making a big mess. You want to add the sand to your cylinder 1. You may also use the same unmarked measuring cup to do the other soils. The next one we're going to do is silt. So you get your silt. Take your wood stir stick, level it off, again taking care to do it over the container itself. If there's some rocks or it's a little bumpy, that's okay because it's going to end up dissolving into the solution. Okay. You want to add your silt. The next soil that you're going to want to do is you can use the same unmarked measuring cup for all of these. You want to get your clay. Take your wood stir stick, level it off again. We all want the soils to be the same amount, so do it as close as you can to the top. Then you add your clay. This might be a little harder, so what you can also do is use your wooden stick and you can poke down and it will help the clay to move through. Might take a moment. Then what you want to do is you want to take your liquid funnel, which has a smaller mouth on it, and this is what you're going to use to add your room temperature tap water. You want to fill this up to your 200 line on your cylinder. Okay. And you will repeat these steps for cylinders 1 through 4. Okay, and then you would take your double layered plastic wrap. So you take one layer and then you would put a second layer on it. Put it over the top of your cylinder, hold the top of your cylinder very tightly and the bottom of your cylinder very tightly, and you would shake up the solutions so the mixture all goes together. And you do want them all to be dissolved in the solution. So you just keep looking at the bottom of your cylinder to make sure that it's been completely mixed up. It will make a little bit of mess, but just do it over your tray to try to prevent a lot of cleanup. You would then again take your liquid funnel and you would make sure that you fill up to your 200 mark, because a lot of times the water level will go down when you shake it. So you want to make sure you do fill it up to that mark. I'm going to turn it around so I can see it. Now that I've added my soils and my room temperature tap water to cylinders 1 through 4, it's time to add the oil. I'm going to use a liquid funnel again. And then to add the oil, you will need an unlabeled measuring cup, and you'll fill this up to the top and you will add it to cylinders 1 through 4, and then you let your solution sit for 10 minutes. I've let my solution set for 10 minutes. It's now time to add the cups that we prepared earlier. You will do this to cylinders 1 through 4, but right I have here are cylinders 1, which is my control, and cylinder 4. So this is just an example for you to know how to do it. I will use my funnel, that is my liquid funnel, and I'm going to add cup 1 to cylinder 1, and you would do that with all corresponding cylinders. So cup 1 to cylinder 1, cup 2 to cylinder 2, and so on. So you take your funnel and you would add your control to the control cylinder. All right. And then we have our double-sided plastic wrap. We want to lay it over the top, and you want to make sure that you hold it securely on both ends. And then you will shake the solution for 1 minute. After you're finished shaking it, you're going to want to immediately put it down on the counter and let it settle out. Okay, set it down. All right, now we're going to do the same thing to cylinder 4, but remember cylinder 4 is the one that had the 3 drops of dish soap, but you're going to do this to each cylinder 1 through 4. We're going to add cup 4 to cylinder 4. Okay. Then again, we want to use our double-sided plastic wrap. Securely hold the top and bottom of the graduated cylinder and shake for 1 minute, not 1 moment. And then you let them settle for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, use a permanent marker to mark and label cylinder 1 at the upper and lower limits of the layers of the sand, silt, clay, water, and oil. Determine the thickness of each. Record measurements and observations in the lab manual. Repeat the steps from the point of adding the dish liquid solution to recording the observations for cylinders 2 through 4. And then discuss your results.
The cleanup of a lab can be one of the more challenging things that you do in a lab, and this lab is particularly interesting and difficult when you do the cleanup, but you have to do it. And instructors, please ask your students to do it instead of you doing it for them. The first thing you need to do is to take the materials out of the graduated cylinder, and I'm going to use a spoon and take the top off of here. That probably includes the oil. Just use my spoon and get as much of it out as I can, because I don't want to put the oil into the drain. Then what I want to do is to put the rest of the material, the sediments and the water, into the sieve here, making sure that I get it all out of there. You can let it drain. Then go over to the sink and use a flask brush. Put some soap into your graduated cylinder, and when you do this, you want to maybe even do it 2 or 3 times because you need to get all of the oil out of there so your next class can have the clean glass cylinder to work with. So make sure you use your flask brush and a little bit of soap, wash that out cleanly, and then there will be a designated spot for you to hang that to dry. The next thing is, after you've done this, please take a look at your tray. You'll notice that on our tray it's wet, and you do need to clean this off. So after your graduated cylinders are hung up to dry, and you take everything off of here, wash your measuring cups as well. Then you want to take any of the dry material off, use a paper towel to put it directly into the trash can. You can also put this material into your trash can. So now you have all of your sediments in the trash can. Wash and dry your tray. Put it where it needs to be as far as where it's designated. Then take a look at your lab table. If that needs to be washed, wash and dry it as well. The last thing I would like for you to do is to make sure that your students take a look at the floor where you've been working, because it's hard to do this lab and not get a little bit of dirt on the floor. We have brooms and mops and dustpans, so you can give those to your students to work with getting the floor to be clean. After that, make sure that your students wash their hands before they leave, and you'll be ready for the next lab.